Listen, I typically look the other direction when a 50 Shades of Grey comes out, gets the ladies all hot and bothered, or a Twilight, or a Hunger Games. I liked Hunger Games. I thought that was a fun book series. Divergent, not really my cup of tea. But what's happening right now with A Court of Thorns and Roses is something I cannot ignore. Because it's happening from within inside my own home, inside my walls. I have a wife who has become infatuated, hooked, cult-like when it comes to ACOTAR. I will fully admit I'm ignorant on this material, but from the little bit that I've heard, from the snippets of copy I've read, this is nightmare fuel. It's embarrassing, and it's something we're all going to have to deal with, gentlemen, because it's not going to slow down. If you're not familiar with this book series, I envy you. If you've been to a bookstore, you'll see them. They're very thick novels, typically one solid color with really heavy font. And, well, maybe you won't. They might be scooped off the shelves, because it's very popular, mainly with the women. The plot, from what I could possibly understand of it, is a 19-year-old huntress is taken to the fairy world, where she will encounter a bunch of these magical beasts, these men that are 500 or so years old. Her kidnapper is Tamlin, a high fae, who brought her to Prythian. That was a sentence I just said out loud. He's one of 7 High Lords of Prythian. This is as much as I understand because that's what Google has for the synopsis. Listen, this book isn't about the magic, though. It's not about the wonder and the lands and all that fantasy shit that we like in Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones and whatnot. No. This is about the sexual acts. This is about getting all quivery under your bonnet. This is about these hulking men who are 500 plus years old, who have been with every walk of life under the sun multiple times. They're intelligent, strong, sexual beasts, ready to bed any woman at their leisure. And so a lot of women are really drawn to this because, let's be honest, they're married to guys like me. And so they need to get away from it, where they can feel that sense of passion, that escapism from their humdrum life. Now, even though there's a part of me that feels a little sad, a little, I guess, insulted that this is what it takes to get my wife excited anymore, there's another part of me that's appreciative that these books are doing the heavy lifting for me. Because, much like 50 Shades, which my wife wasn't actually into at all, but I know others that were, much like 50 Shades, it acts as a bit of a lubricant, a way to get the engine fired up for maybe, possibly later that afternoon. Now, it doesn't always bear fruit, but occasionally, yeah, that's what you're going to get from this. So, gentlemen, if you're having a hard time getting your wife to notice you, maybe pick up a copy of the first book, and that could do wonders. It really could. But it's going to come at a cost, and it's a heavy price to pay. It's a heavy burden to carry, because you are going to have to listen to your woman. Talk about this book series 24/7. Live, eat, breathe, sleep ACOTAR. She's going to join Facebook groups. She's going to look for events to go to. They already have them. There's movies already being planned out. They're casting right now. They're looking for those perfect people to play the Fae or the Tina Fey or whatever they're called. I'm trying to stay as far away from this as possible. I'm not getting sucked into this shit. As a bonus, I have some ACOTAR quotes in front of me, not to be confused with Avatar. It sounds very similar. I'm going to read them off now for your displeasure. Only you can decide what breaks you. Curse breaker. It's verbatim. So I smiled at him, broad and without restraint. You're exquisite, he breathed. The fuck? He growled. Put your hands on the headboard! There you are. I've been looking for you, said a deep, sensual voice I've never heard. I see all of you rise. I'm not sure. And there is not one part that I do not love with everything I am. Autumn court males have fire in their blood. Fuck like it too. And when I lick you, I want you splayed out on the table. And when I lick you, I want you splayed out on the table like my own personal feast. I deigned to glance at him, brows raised. Delicious, he purred. That's enough from you, Rysand purred. There's a lot of purring in these books. The sound like velvet over sharpest steel. Ladies, Rysand purred. A silent order. What's with the purred? But then I began bleeding, a few days after turning 17. And the moment my first blood came, My power awoke in full force, and even that God's-damned mountain trembled before us. Rise roared as he came, slamming into the hilt. Outside, the mountains trembled, the remaining snow rushing from them in a cascade of glittering white, only to be swallowed up from the waiting night below. His answering smile evoked silken sheets and jasmine-scented breezes at midnight. So there's a lot of banging and evidently a lot of purring in these books. I can see why women like it. Listen, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed at the end of the day that this sucked my wife in. She avoided the Twilights. She avoided the 50 Shades. But here she is sucked into this world, this never-ending hellscape that I have to now listen to. I'm privy to it. And it's miserable. I just don't want to hear about ACOTAR anymore. And the harsh truth of the matter is it's not going away, folks. This is going to be around for a long time. We're going to get movies. The TikTok community's already ran this thing into the ground. It's going to be around for a while until the next 50 Shades of Grey comes along in another decade and we start this cycle all over again. Do the pros of this book series outweigh the cons of having to listen about fairyland and these magical men running around banging everything that moves? No, not really. Not really. But I would love to hear from you. Are you an ACOTAR fan? I apologize. I don't apologize. If I'm saying it wrong, that it just is what it is, okay? If you're a fan, let me know in the comments below. Please like the video if you feel some sort of sympathy for me, some sort of pity on me, and I would love to hear from you. Please subscribe to the channel. Also, I post tons of rants every single week now. I'm really getting into the swing of things. Would love to have you stick around. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm sure I have an earful to hear from my wife about how the 6 or whatever book they're on is just around the corner. I'm dead inside.